Some stories begin with fireworks. This one began with silence. Not the comforting kind, but the kind that hangs heavy in the air, like breath in winter, like a question that never got answered. It was on a freezing Wednesday evening, the kind where the city felt like it had turned its back on itself, that Evan Hart first saw him. Just a man under a buzzing neon sign, just another face in the blur of forgotten people. But there was something about the way he sat, still, unblinking, as if the world had stopped turning for him and no one noticed. Something about the cardboard sign on his lap that didn't beg, but declared, "I was someone once." That line cut deeper than Evan expected, maybe because he'd seen those eyes before, in a photo buried in his father's things, maybe because something in him was tired of walking past people like they weren't even there. He didn't know it yet, but in that moment, right there on the corner of 6th and Alden, two lives began to change, one forgotten, one searching, and both about to be rewritten by the simplest act of all, someone choosing to stop and listen. It was a cold Wednesday in November when Evan Hart noticed him for the first time. The man sat slumped beneath the flickering neon sign of an all-night pharmacy, arms wrapped tightly around a faded green coat that had long since given up its fight against the cold. His eyes stared blankly ahead, like he was watching ghosts walk by on the other side of the street. People streamed past him, hoods up, heads down, eyes averted. Evan sat by the coffee shop window watching. He sipped his chai with honey, fingers wrapped around the warm ceramic as if it could shield him from more than just the wind outside. He told himself not to stare. But there was something about the man, something that nagged at the back of Evan's mind. A cardboard sign leaned against the man's knees. The words, carefully written in a shaky hand, read, "I was someone once. Now I'm just hungry." Evan stood up before he could change his mind. Crossing the street felt heavier than it should have. He clutched the thermos he'd brought as a backup drink and approached carefully, trying not to spook the man like a deer on the edge of a highway. "Hey," Evan said, voice soft. "You mind if I sit?" The man didn't look at him. "Free curb," he muttered, voice hollow. Evan sat, offering the thermos. "It's chai, with honey." The man's hands shook as he took it. He sniffed it first like he wasn't used to kindness that didn't come with a catch. "Thanks," he muttered. He took a sip, closed his eyes. A long pause stretched between them. The sounds of the city, sirens, honking, footsteps, filled the silence like static. "You always sit here?" Evan asked. The man finally turned his head. His eyes, cloudy but still sharp, narrowed. "You ask a lot of questions for someone with clean shoes." Evan gave a nervous smile. "You look familiar. My dad used to know someone. A professor, maybe? A musician?" The man snorted. "Yeah, I used to be both. Before the world decided I wasn't worth remembering." "What happened?" He hesitated, then sighed. "You really want to know, huh?" Evan nodded. "My name's Jacob. Jacob Alden. I taught music theory at the university. Toured once, too. I had a family, wife, daughter. Then the accident happened. A drunk driver clipped my wife's car. She was gone before I got to the hospital." He stopped, voice catching. "I tried to keep going, for my daughter. But my head, it wasn't right after that. I started forgetting things. Missed lectures, deadlines. They let me go." "Your daughter?" Evan asked quietly. "She tried to help. But grief makes you ugly. I pushed her away. Haven't seen her in 5 years." A sharp wind blew down the street. Neither of them moved. "You ever play again?" Evan asked. Jacob looked down at his fingers. "Strings are expensive." Evan nodded, then stood. "Stay here." 2 hours later, Evan returned with a guitar slung over his shoulder. It was beat up, missing a tuning peg, but the strings were intact. Jacob stared at it like it was an artifact from another life. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because you still are someone," Evan said. "Even if the world forgot." Jacob blinked, eyes glistening. He reached out slowly and cradled the guitar like it was made of glass. He strummed a few chords. The sound was rough, but there was something beneath it. A pulse, like embers under ash. "You remember that much, at least," Evan said. Jacob let out a small laugh. "It's muscle memory, like pain. It never really leaves." That night, Evan couldn't sleep. He went digging through his father's old belongings. In the back of a dusty trunk, he found a journal. Clippings, photographs, scribbled notes. One headline read, "Professor Jacob Alden honored with State Music Award." There was a photograph, Jacob younger and glowing, shaking hands with a senator. His father's note underneath read, "Brilliant mind. Haunted heart. Keep an eye on him." Evan stared at it, a chill climbing his spine. This wasn't coincidence. This was a circle, waiting to be closed. The next day, Evan returned with his phone. "I have an idea," he said. "Play something for me. I want to show people." Jacob scoffed. "No one wants to see an old man fumble a tune." Evan didn't argue. He just waited. Finally, Jacob picked up the guitar and began to play. The melody was haunting, slow and fractured like a memory dragged up from the deep. Passers-by stopped. Some smiled. One dropped money in the empty case Evan had laid out. Another took a photo. Evan posted the video with a caption. "This man used to be a professor and composer. Now he plays for survival. Listen to his story." By the next morning, the video had 80,000 views. By evening, 250,000, and by the time Evan returned to Jacob's corner, it had hit 1 million. He showed Jacob the screen. "That many people watched." "Me?" Jacob asked, stunned. "And listened," Evan said. "Really listened." The donations came fast. Evan had set up a GoFundMe titled, "Help Jacob Get Back on His Feet." Within 2 days, it hit $30,000. Within a week, $75,000. "I don't deserve this," Jacob said quietly, staring at the screen like it was written in another language. Evan replied, "Maybe not, but you need it, and that's enough." 3 weeks later, Jacob walked into a local radio station, clean-shaven and wearing a new coat. His guitar was freshly tuned. He was there to perform live for a morning segment called Second Chances. "Feels strange," he told Evan in the green room, "like I'm wearing someone else's skin." "You're not," Evan said. "You're just stepping back into your own." Jacob's performance stunned the host. His fingers flew. His voice cracked only once, on a lyric about a daughter lost in time. Afterward, as he packed up, a young woman stood waiting outside the studio glass. She wore a red scarf and clutched a photo to her chest. Jacob froze. "Sarah?" he whispered. She stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "Dad," she said, "I saw the video. I didn't know if I should, but I had to come." They stood frozen a beat longer. Then she threw her arms around him. The guitar fell gently to the floor. The reunion made the local paper, then national headlines. But Jacob didn't care about the fame. He started teaching again, this time at a community centre downtown. Every Tuesday and Thursday he ran a workshop called Music for Second Chances. He taught kids from the streets, single mothers, ex-cons, and dropouts how to find rhythm again, how to feel again. "Music saved me twice," he told his students. "Once when I was young, and once when I was almost gone." Evan would visit sometimes, sitting quietly in the back. He never took credit, never reposted the video. He just watched. One day, Jacob was walking home when he noticed a man hunched under the pharmacy sign. Younger, shivering, alone. Jacob approached slowly, heart hammering. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. The man glanced up warily, nodding. Jacob sat, pulled a thermos from his bag and handed it over. "It's chai. With honey," he said. The man hesitated. "Why?" he asked. Jacob looked him in the eye, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Because someone once did it for me, and I remember what it felt like to be seen." Jacob Alden now runs a non-profit called Strings of Hope, offering music education, therapy, and instruments to the homeless and at-risk youth. His story has inspired thousands, but to him, it always comes back to that one cold evening and the stranger who stopped. As for Evan Hart, when asked why he helped a man he'd never met, he simply said, "Sometimes it only takes one moment to change someone's life. I just gave him a moment. He did the rest." And somewhere, in some city, another broken soul sat under a neon sign, waiting to be seen.